Don't think of your sling as a one-dimensional piece of equipment. There's many different ways that you can set it up and many different ways that you can use it. On my rifle, I have a Haley Strategic 2 to 1 point sling, and I've had this on my rifle for about 5 years. I'm going to explain to you why I use it and how I use it. So if I'm in a patrol type setting and I have this rifle locked in a rack, I would have it in this 2 point configuration here with the strap holding the sling to the rifle. If I was in a vehicle that didn't have a locking mechanism or a rack, I would have it in this configuration and my rifle would just be sitting next to me, which is most often the case for me. And what that allows you to do, it allows you to grab your rifle and deploy with your rifle without worrying about it getting caught at anything inside the vehicle. And you also don't have to use your sling right away if you don't need to, and you can deploy with your rifle and you can do whatever you need to do. And if at some point, or even immediately, if it makes sense, you can grab onto your sling and you can pull it away from your rifle, clear your rifle, swim through your sling, and now you're set up in the 2 point configuration. And the 2 point configuration is what you most often see the vast majority of people doing. So I actually use the 1 point sling for specific reasons. Now, I have the luxury the vast majority of the time, 99% of the time, of knowing what I'm about to get myself into. So we'll just call it targeted enforcement, right? So if I'm about to go clear a house or clear a school, I put my sling in the 1 point configuration when I know I'm about to go do CQB, because for me, it allows me to do the things that I need to do within the fundamental principles of CQB without having to worry about my sling being any factor at all of getting in my way of me being able to maneuver my rifle. So if I'm stepping through the threshold in a room and I need to short stock my rifle to clear the threshold and then check my corner, I can do that without having to worry about my sling getting caught around my neck, being too tight, being too loose, whatever the case may be, and I can get that done without any worry. If I was in a school and I was coming up to the corner of the school while the team was working behind me down a long hallway and I needed to cover down that way, and I wanted to transition from my strong side to my support side so that I could actually cover the hallway, I can do that while the team's working behind me, again, just without any issue of my rifle getting into the way, and that's just what I prefer. If I was doing a vehicle operation, I would have my sling and my rifle in this 1 point configuration for those same reasons. So if I knew that we were about to act on something, I would have it in the 1 point configuration so that if I'm in the vehicle, I can do what I need to do inside the vehicle, maneuver my rifle without having to worry about my sling getting in the way. And then if I am coming out of my vehicle, instead of having it in that 2 point configuration where it's not quite across your body yet, I could have it in this configuration here, the 1 point sling, and if I needed to do something, I could drop my rifle and transition to my pistol. So I use it both in the 2 point and the 1 point configuration. If I was going to have to take a shot, whether it was for qualifications or another purpose, 100 yards and past, I would have it in the 2 point configuration because I know how to use the sling to my advantage when it is set up in that manner so that I can get a little bit more tension on my rifle and create less of a wobble so that I can take more precise shots if necessary. So I don't encourage anybody to only run a 1 point sling, because by doing so, you're eliminating some of the options and some of the opportunities that you have and that you can gain an advantage when running a 2 point sling. So the arguments that I've seen against 1 point slings, in my opinion, they're all really based on comfort. So you'll hear people say, you know, you don't want to run a 1 point sling because when you are shooting and then you drop your rifle to transition to your pistol, your rifle is going to hit you in the legs. And again, that's an argument based on comfort and not necessity, in my opinion. Control over your rifle in those moments where you're transitioning, I mean, it's controlled, and it is, yes, it is kind of loose, but what exactly am I doing in those moments where I need my rifle to be really secured to my body that tightly. You know, and then it's like, well, if you are running with your rifle and you have to transition and you let it hang, it's going to knock into your knees while you're transitioning to your pistol. And my question is, what is happening that I'm running with my rifle and my rifle goes down and I have to transition to my pistol on the run while I'm still running and then do something with my pistol? That seems extremely unlikely to me. And so, in my opinion, it's just not something that I consider trying to account for. So the arguments, there's another argument about, you know, being able to secure your rifle across your body so that you can do other work that might be necessary. So whether it be, you know, assisting in some medical procedures or being the hands guy and having to do something. And I've personally never witnessed anybody do this on a scene with their rifle and do something. I know that those things are out there, but in the instances where it was even practical or possible for me, there's always been a number of other people around that maybe didn't have rifles, and so it just made more sense for them to do that, or for you to hand your rifle to that person, because I am extremely wary about where my muzzle is oriented at all times. And I think that there is a way that you could get down and you could do all those things while making sure your muzzle is pointed still at the ground, although that's a very cognitive and conscious decision to make, because now you're taking your focus off your weapon system and dealing with this other problem. And so I would never want to have to lean over and do something and my muzzle be pointed in another direction. Now, I know that it's unsafe, right? But they're still around in the chamber and accidents do happen, and we're wearing all this gear. And so that's just not an accident that I want to be responsible for. I have had instances where I've had it in the 1-point configuration doing vehicle operations, and it made sense in those moments to chase after somebody, and so I did that, and it came to a point where I had to overcome an obstacle. And so what I do in those moments is I change it to a 2-point sling, and I either set it somewhere where I can grab it as soon as I get over. I've handed it to somebody else, but I've been extremely uncomfortable with the idea of slinging it across my body, across my back, and then going over the obstacle with officers down the fence line behind me. And so to me, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, or just simply keeping positive control of your rifle and overcoming the obstacle, right? So if you've ever seen competitions run, SWAT competitions or whatever the case is, and a rifle is involved and there's shooting going on, and then they're going to have to overcome obstacles with their rifle, almost always, based on what I've seen, they have had the officer unload their weapon, confirm that it's unloaded before they go start maneuvering around these obstacles. And why is it that they have them do that? It's because accidents happen, and those people running those events don't want to be responsible for an accident. And so if we're not going to allow it to happen in these controlled environments where we're watching people and we know that the area is clear, why would we allow that to happen in a real world where there's real consequences for those actions or for those mistakes? So the point is that you can run your rifle however you like to run it. Definitely do not run a 1-point sling alone, because you're eliminating some of the benefits of having a 2-point sling. And whatever it is that you decide to do, just make sure that you're comfortable with the process, you understand how it works, and you're able to get into those different positions, maneuver around and work around your sling, and so that it's not inhibiting your ability to get the job done.